Yo and hello everybody, Mike here, baseball collector. I'm going to take my glasses off because I don't need them right now, but I wanted to just tell you how excited I am today. I get to do a kind of different item on my channel, a different show on my channel, starting a new series right now. I'm going to call it Hobby Heavyweights, and ideally over time I'm going to get to talk to people that are influential in the hobby on many different fronts. And the first person I get to talk to is Dan Wulkan from Memory Lane Auctions. Dan, how you doing?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me on.
Man, you're welcome, and I appreciate you doing this. I know you're a busy guy, especially right now, because you guys have an auction going on right now, don't you?
Yes, and it ends April 6th, and it's got some unbelievable items.
How many items do y'all have in the auction right now?
Right now, this auction has 1,017 lots.
Wow.
And there's enough different items for everyone, from sports to non-sports, cards to signatures. It kind of runs the whole gamut.
So I'm just going to get this question out of the way because it's fun. What do you think is the coolest item or items that you have in your auction right now?
Well, from different categories, I'll tell you, it's tough to pick just one item.
I bet.
We've got the 59 play ball Ted Williams, which is there's only one card rated higher on that card, and that's a $250,000 plus type card.
Wow.
Real sharp mid-9, and that's incredible. As far as memorabilia is concerned, we've got the top 5 Hall of Fame inductees, the first 5 Hall of Fame inductees. Christy Mathewson, Honus Wagner, Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Walter Johnson, all in PSA 9 mint signatures on signed canceled checks. So, you know, it's not just an autograph from these people, it's actually a signed document. And the reason I love signed canceled checks is because you can kind of date where they were in their life. They're signing a check, and in the afternoon they're playing a game. Or
Yeah.
they might be retired, or they might be right around the time that they were inducted into the Hall of Fame. So that's a really, really cool. And then I would say the biggest group, or the biggest collection of cards that we have in our auction, is the Willie Mays Fan Club collection. And you're talking, you know, multiple 10s. I mean, it's just an absolutely, you know, we've got the 51 Bowman in a PSA 8, you know, which is incredible. And this comes from the PSA, the #1 PSA registry basic set.
Wow.
So, you know, you're looking at a 52 Topps Mays in an 8, a 52 Bowman in a 9 that pretty much borders a 10, a 53 Mays in an 8.5, and the list goes on. Just, you know, every single card, and again, a bunch of 10s in that collection.
That is awesome. I'm a huge Mays guy, and I love him.
Wow.
And I have several canceled checks, and I agree with you. They're cool just for the history part of it, not just the signature itself, but what goes with that. And
Absolutely.
yeah, you could actually argue that you have the first 5. They might be the top 5, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome. Do you guys ever limit how many items you have in any given auction?
You know, it's interesting you bring that up. We don't limit, we just want quality. And the key to our auction is we want to, you know, it's a boutique auction, but it does just as much as every other auction. And it's really important to us to bring quality. We don't want to put everything in the kitchen sink. We don't want to, you know, put 8x10s that go for $40. We want to, you know, put decent stuff where people are going through the catalog and really enjoy, you know, reading a catalog, looking at it, bidding on stuff, knowing that they don't have to thumb through any flea market-esque type stuff where everything in there is quality. So we're more, you know, priding ourselves more on quality over quantity. Even though there's 1,017 lots, you know, we have cards for people that, you know, are filling sets, or we have cards that, you know, people are collecting all rookie cards in high grade.
Yep.
So we try and offer a whole host of things, you know, from all different categories. But more or less the high-end stuff. And then we have, we also offer a lot of rare, like we have the Bryce Williams cards in there. We've got some unbelievable Type 1 wire photos, and, that are really incredible. But as far as to answer your question, we don't limit it. We just want to make sure that within the front cover and the back cover, everything inside is going to be quality.
Well, speaking of quality, I got your catalog a week or two ago and looked through it, as I always do. To get quality, how do you seek out consignments? How do you or other auction houses, or just in general, how do you find this quality? Where do you get it from? Good
question. I mean, we do a lot of shows during the year. We promote our auction. We promote that we also have we sell privately. That's a large part of our business model. As far as getting consignments, if people don't want to sell things outright or have us broker things outright, then we advertise everywhere, and people can come to us. And we get tons of calls every day. Unfortunately, that we can't use everything we're called on, but we get a ton of calls every day from advertising it everywhere. Within the SMR, PSA has a great magazine, the Sports Market Report.
Yep.
And if your listeners haven't gotten that, they should definitely give PSA a call and see if they can get on their list and get a sample magazine before they join. And it's really just pounding the pavement and doing shows and traveling the United States, going to clients, but we do get a lot of calls. We do get approached, by people all over the world, all over the United States, and then, different other countries participate, in our auctions too, from, Australia to Japan to New Zealand. I mean, there are a lot of clients throughout the world that hear about us. We're always advertising online. Auctionreport.com is a great venue to see where you could possibly sell your stuff to different auction houses.
Yeah.
But if it's high end, I want you to come to us.
Of course. Man, so
yeah, I think it's the advertising and doing the shows and being out there. And the key, I think, to success is spending the money to promote, because your whole goal is to promote your customers' items, and that's a real important thing. That we want to be out at the shows, talking to people, meeting people, traveling to clients' residences and going through their collections. So it definitely the key is to spend money on a decent advertising budget and just travel to seek out some great things.
Great insight. So do you have regular consigners, people that just kind of come back to you over and over again?
Absolutely. I mean, we have repeat customers all the time. I think the industry knows what we're strong in and knows that we're the leader in cards, and I think they understand that they're going to get the highest value and they're going to get the best work out of us as far as the exposure, the advertising. There are times when we'll bring stuff to shows to promote, but yeah, we do have a lot of repeat customers that, every single auction, there are a lot of times where they're buying things at other auctions they know will, do better on, and they jump on that. They know that they can make more money through our auction. So, for the way we present everything and, the way our auction company performs.
So you said that you have regular consigners. This auction, for example, you have over 1,000 items, like you said. Do you guys keep an inventory of items kind of just to dip into in case an auction is a little thin?
Interesting you say that. It's really, halfway through getting consignment, let's say our auctions usually get about 1,000 to 1,400 items.
Okay.
Just depending on the collections we get and all that. And as far as we get to a point halfway through the consignment deadline and look at each other and we're like, what are we going to do? We're 50% there and we got 2 weeks. it's amazing that every single auction, including this one right here, has come through where it's just making the calls to people and seeing where their collection, where they're collecting lies, whether they're buying or selling or trading or they want to consign. And it's absolutely amazing that within those 2 weeks, it always comes through where we're going to get 5 to 6, even 700 items. Where we get to a point where the deadline's passed and we're doing the layout, we're getting calls for another 100 items. And and every single time that happens. So, for our next auction, we already have about 300 lots.
Okay.
Even though that didn't fly because they have to be rolled over, because once our layout's done, it's done. But, there are times that, we don't have to dip in to make it up as far as lot count. But there are times that we'll put some of our stuff in, and it goes for what it goes for. That's the beauty of our auction, that, people can actually bid and possibly sometimes get deals, or something's going to go 3 or 4 times what it's worth, and they're going to think we're crazy, that they're not going to pay that or top that bid, and then they're going to come to us and consign because they know where our strengths lie, in memorabilia and in cards.
For
so
sure.
They know that, it's so, knock on wood, we've never had that problem where we've had to dip into, our own personal collection to put stuff in just to kind of round it out and make it look good. We've been blessed that we've always had a stellar auction.
Awesome. So there are a lot of auction houses out there. Maybe 20 or so that are probably pretty well known in the hobby. All right, so Dan, there's a lot of auction houses out there, maybe 20 or so that kind of have significant names in the hobby. What makes Memory Lane unique? What makes you guys special?
It's pretty simple. We spend the money for advertising. We promote everybody's items. We're not scared to spend money for marketing. We deal in high-end stuff, and based on our realized prices, people know they can come to us and they're going to get quality. We are the type of people that are so, jazzed to give the best customer service. Our business cards have our cell phone numbers. So if we're at a show, people can, reach us 7 days a week.
Right.
We're not a big corporation where, you have to get through 17 different people. You call the office. We have a building here in Tustin, California. Yeah, we're building a museum, actually. But you call the office and you get us, or you get patched into us, or you leave a voicemail and we get right back to you. That's, I think, what we pride ourselves in, really that one-on-one connection with the seller, with the buyer, and kind of treat them regardless if it's a $200 item or a $2 million item. Because I think that comes from the passion that JP and I have. I think, running the company, JP started it, and, a long time ago, he wasn't getting the right customer service when he was collecting, so he decided to open up his own company, and he's been a huge success ever since. And, and then I came along and joined him in 2006, and which is another interesting story, but a great story on how we connected. But bottom line is that we care about the customer, and we're always there to help them out. And on top of that, we're accessible. And, I think because we're so passionate and love what we do, and kind of feel like we've never worked a day in our life, even though auctions are a ton of work.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool while we're doing the layout and having these things come through our hands, like Babe Ruth contracts, or things, turn of the century items, or type 1 photos of Babe Ruth's eyes, by Charles Conlon, or, beautiful Gary Burke photos. I mean, just so many things that come through, go through our hands that we actually partake in enjoying and seeing and reading and kind of seeing the history. So, to answer your question in a long roundabout way, I think we provide great customer service. We have a great team, and it's not like you send something in and it goes in the auction. We work with you, and if you have questions on you wanting to see a write-up before it goes to print, we work with that. We also request on personal family memorabilia that sometimes we build a story and and take,
Right.
the story on where you got it, where you obtained it. So I think it's, we pride ourselves in the customer service we give and the high-end, beautiful catalog that we produce. And we got a great team here at Memory Lane. So it feels good to, work with people and be there for them whenever they need to get a hold of us.
Very cool. So tell me the coolest thing or the weirdest thing or the weirdest story. Just try to pick one story of somebody coming to you and bringing you something that they had no idea what they had. Like they were just totally blown away.
Totally blown away.
Or that you were totally blown away. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm holding this,
Item-wise, it's a good question. Similar to the question we get when, hey, what's hot in your auction? What's new? What do you got new to sell? We have such a huge inventory. There's always so many new items. But I would think there was a time when we had a Gaudy Garrigan at 10, which was unbelievable, 33 Gaudy Garrigan at 10 that, someone missed in the auction and ended up calling after the auction and offered the winner $50,000 more.
Wow.
And that was a nice night for the buyer. Someone that just had, crazy money and wanted it. When that's a pop one, the sky's the limit. So that was pretty neat. Babe Ruth trust fund checks, written, signed by Christy Walsh, the first baseball agent.
Yep.
I think baseball, we had a gentleman who had a baseball that he got when he was a kid, and he pitched in it was not college, but kind of like a rookie league team, and Babe Ruth came to visit them, and he pitched, and actually Ruth signed baseballs afterwards, and he signed a baseball for him, and that was really neat. Another time, kid's father works for Kodak, so the father brought the son down to the dugout to get a ball signed by Ruth while he was filming Ruth sign it. And we had footage. We had provenance and we had footage of Babe Ruth signing that ball. We've never seen that, occur. Even though the ball was shellacked and was probably a 2 out of 10, it still fetched about $15,000 because it was the provenance that came with it, which provenance is key,
sure.
Value on a lot of items.
Oh yeah.
We've come across checks signed by George Washington. We're like, how could that exist? Why is that not in the Smithsonian when you have a check signed by George Washington written to the architect of the Capitol, and you're just in awe that these pieces of paper, these checks from the 1700s, the 1800s, Lincoln and Jefferson and Kennedy, how did they exist? But it's out there, and I think the biggest piece that we acquired that we bought some time ago was a Lou Gehrig Bat-Right game-used bat with photo provenance of him holding the bat. So that's incredible to have, also about the provenance and having a photo match, of Lou Gehrig holding a game-used bat that is now in your hands.
Right.
Come on. That's just, and then the multiple Honus Wagner cars that we, the T206 Honus Wagner cars that we've handled, multiple Honus Wagner cards, from the PSA 8 all the way down.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting that, especially for that card, that being the holy grail of cards of our whole entire industry, along with, let's say, a 52 Mantle, that imagery is so common in the world of collecting and even outside collecting. We had a gentleman, a client that, owns the PSA 8, and we could have gotten him north of $10 million for that card. And, I think some of our clients give responses like, well, if I sell it, that money's just going to visit my other money. Why would I want to sell that card? I want that card. This is, the iconic image, and
yep.
I'd rather have, Honus Wagner on the card. So, there are a lot of really, really cool items that have, come through our hands and that have either gone to auction or that we bought or, that have come through on private sale.
Very, very cool. I'm going to switch gears a little bit on you because I'm going to now take it from a collector. As a collector, and that's who's going to be watching this show a lot, are other guys that are collectors out there. And,
Sure.
you know, there's not a huge, I don't think, at least, and maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's a huge percentage of the collecting public that takes advantage of what auction houses bring to the table in terms of quality and just being able to get stuff and know you got it. You know, just there's not a lot of guys doing it. And
Sure.
so what advice would you give to a collector who's thinking about dipping their foot into the auction house world for the first time?
You know, the auction house spectrum, you know, you find so many cool items. I'd say, you know, give a call to us. We'll get you on the mailing list, get you a catalog, and sign up and take your chances in trying to win something. I know that the whole collecting world is all versed in, you know, buying on eBay. It's pretty much, you know, you're bidding and then, you know, you bid at the end. And, you know, you don't bid yourself up and you wait until the end and, you know, you at least get initial bids in, you know, because we have a 15-minute rule that anything, you know, bid on before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you're able to bid on again after 7. And then once the 15 minutes goes by with no bid, then you're able to, then the auction closes and we get not one bid within that 15-minute time period. But it's pretty much, you know, like bidding on eBay, and it's pretty simple. I'll tell you, you know, it's kind of tough to sift through millions of items on eBay, whereas you have a catalog. It's a great reference catalog to value, and, you know, there are different things that jump into the catalog every single auction, and it's an opportunity that if we're known for real high-end stuff, you know that when you get that catalog and you open it up, you're going to find something that you really want. You know, you might not be able to afford it, and you might bid up to X amount, you might win it.
Dang, money gets in the way of everything, doesn't it? Dang it.
Yes, and, you know, unfortunately, we just sold our last money tree to a client.
Oh, man.
You know, I wish money grew on trees, because I'll tell you, you know, if you handed me $5 million, that would be enough to buy, you know, everything I'd want in the industry. And, you know, because once you're that passionate, you want to own, you know, and collect. You want to own a lot of different, you know, cool items. But I think it's well worth entering that realm of the auction world and getting the catalogs and trying out, you know, one auction. And I think if you ever have, you know, people that want to enter that world ever have questions, all they have to do is call us, and we'll be glad to walk them through it. And it's exciting. It's exciting to, you know, win something in auction and get that back in the mail. So
I'm going to talk from my experience, and you can, again, correct me if I'm wrong. And it's,
sure.
So let's say I'm a brand new guy. I've never been with an auction house before. I go on and I fill out, basically I can either call or fill out an online, basically registration to create a username and password on your website to be able to participate in the auction. With that comes, you have to put down, you know, basically your rank, you know, name, rank, serial number kind of stuff. And then you put on there a couple of references, either your eBay username or other auctions that you've participated in. But I want to tell you guys out there, don't let that intimidate you. Don't let that keep you from doing it. You know, but what vetting process do you guys go through for your bidders? Because I know, like, I'm not going to sign up for 3 different accounts, but if I did, you would catch that and go, hey, wait a second, same guy. Or, you know, how do y'all vet your bidders out?
You know, we check references, we check the eBay username, we look at feedback. We also watch the auction like the hawk, because we want, you know, our auction to be the cleanest auction like it's always been. No issues with anything. And we really pride ourselves on that. And, you know, as far as vetting the bidders and making sure that, you know, they're all legitimate, we check them. We have one of our employees at the office is a genius at that, in even looking all the way down to the proximity of addresses and, you know, the close proximity of people, and, you know, just kind of policing it as best as possible and making sure that, things are on the up and up, because that's, again, why we pride ourselves in how awesome our auctions are. And at the end of the day, it's just a clean process. It's an easy process, and, it always works smoothly.
Yeah,
but we do get to their username and all that. And again, it's like you said, if it's intimidating to someone, just give us a call, talk to us, ask questions. No question is a dumb question. It's it's all information based, and it's all wanting to be comfortable and to be a part of a really cool auction where you might find a one of a kind piece you've been looking for a long time.
Yeah, you brought up, kind of keeping things on the up and up, and, shilling in general is something that's, that's a curse word in our hobby, and it should be.
Yeah.
And so, it's, cheaters are going to cheat, and people are going to find ways around things, and it really is disappointing to me as a collector that any tainting could happen in our hobby, but it's going to. Where there's money involved, you're going to find people that are trying to swindle someone else. And I know you guys do a great job of trying to minimize that as much as possible, because once you lose your reputation in this hobby, you're kind of screwed. It's everything.
Yeah. It's everything.
So how do you feel?
That's fine.
Go ahead.
If someone else wants to do something like that, take it to someone else. We're just not going to stand for it, and we never will. We never, ever will. It's there are times where we've put stuff in of our own and we've lost money. I've lost 30-40% on some stuff, that I bought that, I just didn't get it at the right price. Or maybe like a canceled check that I sold that then, like, there were 5,000 Ted Williams checks came out, when I paid $3,000 for one, and now they're $150.
Right.
And I put that in our auction, and I paid $3,000 for it, and it goes for $300. What am I going to do? That's the market. That's what it bears.
Right.
That's what the buyer's going to get. He's going to get what he bid on, and if there's no one above the, if he put, we can't even see top all bids, but if he put $400 and he's high at $290, he's getting it for $290.
Yeah.
I mean, that's and I'm going to get crushed because 5,000 Ted Williams signed canceled checks decided to come out into the hobby, by someone dumping them and not selling them the right way, to just let them go in a very small quantity.
Yeah, you could trickle those in. Yeah.
So it would be protected the right way, and they would still hold their value. That's happened to me before. But you know what? The upswings or the benefits outweigh. The wins outweigh the losses. That's what I'm trying to say.
So how do you feel as an auction house owner and director? Things like the news recently about the fake sign T206s. You've got high-end basketball cards being, slabbed, broken out, trimmed, re-slabbed, and I know that's PSA, SGC, BGS, whoever's doing it. But as an auction house owner, how can you protect? If it's slabbed by PSA, you have to kind of go, all right, it is what it is. How do you in general, just how do you feel about that stuff?
It is kind of tough to see that stuff, happen, but to us, everybody's doing their due diligence, and it's it's definitely an opinion. It's also, I would say it kind of comes down to a science with measuring cards and, seeing the quality of cards. And if they measure up to the standard, the card's the card and the grade's the grade. And it's important that, it's in the holder. And, I think you can look at it, and you can skin a cat a million different ways. Is that the saying?
Yeah.
I
would argue some of it's on the buyer too, right? I mean, you can't just...
Yeah, I mean, we're not the ones that are grading cards, so it's
right.
When, we take the card out of the holder and regrade it, and then it's out of the holder, and we're not going to paste the slip onto the card and say, well, this is what it grades. it's tough to measure a card in a holder because you got to get real down flat to,
Yep.
Get close to it. But, from our eye, we've, it really, comes down to what the grade is on the holder, and that's what we're representing. And, that's what's set in stone. It's unfortunate, like with those Evo 6s getting out to the hobby that, just poor stuff that gets through, like you said before, where there's money to be made, there's fraud, committed, unfortunately. And that's in every single walk of life. That's in every single industry ever in any country on earth. So I think deep down, you just have to stay true to your company and true to your values and the feelings on how you want to, promote your company and how you'd like it to, be shown, all over the world.
And by and large, Dan, I bet you agree with this, that I think that authentication companies do a really good job, by and large. They
do.
They're getting bombarded with things, and stuff's just going to slip through. They're human beings that are actually doing this, and so I think they're right 99 point whatever % of the time. It's that people seem to focus on the mistakes / the misses, right? They didn't catch it, or they didn't this or that, and that's a shame. And they miss out on what the authenticators bring to the hobby, which is by and large really, really good and quality work, right?
I agree with you.
So let's get into eBay a little bit, because I think, if you were to say what's your biggest competition, it's probably other auction houses and then eBay. But in particular, I want to ask you how you feel about, let's call them the two big eBay consigners. You got Probstein and you got PWCC, right? They're the two big ones.
Yeah.
And so how would you say you guys are different from those, just using those two as examples, but the other eBay major consigners? What's different?
I think the difference between eBay sellers and our auction company is that they might handle a lot lesser value type stuff, which is an incredible service for people filling sets. And then I know they're gonna handle 6-figure items. So there could be times where someone could either set a reserve or they just let it fly. And I think Probstein does an incredible job. It's the guy it's unbelievable what he does. If you have 100 of this or 100 of that, and it's I've never seen a better well-oiled machine with the people that he's got on staff. I think it's incredible. But it's a factory to move quantity and to also include in this quality. And I think that they do a great job. I think if it comes to reputation, and when I say reputation, kind of what you're known for. And they're a powerhouse in a lot of $50, $100, $200, $500, $1,000 type items. The similar items that we're a powerhouse in, and I believe that there is enough for everyone. We're not greedy. We like putting on a beautiful auction, and I think so to compare both of them, I would say eBay versus auction houses. I would say we kind of deal in the similar stuff, but there might be stuff that the seller would like to give to them because they need the money quick.
Right.
Or they give it to us because they want to maximize, maybe specifically what we're known in. And we also have been known to give advances towards items that are of higher value, that if someone needs money right now but they don't want to leave money on the table, they might not know the eyes that are looking on eBay, and they know the eyes that are looking, at our catalog with our reputation and what we sell.
That's a great point, actually. And an eBay auction's not going to last longer than a week typically. Most auction house auctions are 2 to 4 weeks, would you say?
Correct.
On average?
3 weeks.
So
yeah, 2 to 3 weeks.
There's a lot more time to get the word out, let it simmer, let it be seen by more and more people. So they're just different.
Yeah.
I'm not here to, I buy from both. So I'm not
Yeah.
I prefer
And
one
I do
over the
too.
other.
Yeah, and I've always had great luck with, I'm sure we do buy from PWCC, especially when we might have a set come in and we need a specific grade.
Right.
To upgrade the set to better, we're going straight to them. We're going straight to Probstein, and, we'll buy, things that are needed there. So what a great service.
Sure.
To find, some tough stuff that'll, make our deadline. So, I think we work together, with them, and, it's, but yeah, both do a great job.
You said something a second ago, there's enough to go around. And I think that's an interesting idea. I'm of the belief that there's only so much money in the hobby. And you and I talked before this interview about this idea. But to me, it seems like, this is really a two-part question. So I'll ask the first part. Auctions tend to kind of happen at the same time with those major auction houses, or similar times, I would say. And to me, if I'm an auction house owner, I'm worried about the cannibalization of there's only so much money and in the hobby, and if the pie's being split up so much, where's my piece? And so to that end, that's first part. How do you guys decide? So that's my real question is, how do you feel about that? Is there enough room to go? Like you said, is there really enough to go around? And B, so then how does that help you decide when your auctions are going to be?
Our industry is such a healthy addiction that
no doubt.
Financially, it might not be the greatest move when you decide to buy something instead of paying your mortgage. Or
not a good idea.
You see a catalog and your wife's birthday's coming up, and let's say you're used to spending $1,000 on her 40th birthday, and then you see the catalog and you're like, well, you know what? I think I'm going to spend $400 on her and $600 on me. So it's from my perspective, we've found that it really doesn't matter to us as far as feeling that it's thinned out, where there's not enough money to go around. People are so addicted to our hobby, our industry, the love of it, the buying back memories and buying back childhood heroes. I think they're always going to find the money. I think regardless of when we have the auction, if the auction is aligned with two other auctions, powerhouses, and I know that we're a top powerhouse in the industry. I think we're the leader in vintage sports cars and collectibles, like our slogan says. So,
yeah.
But as far as people are going to find the money to buy stuff, even if they have to get it in a different auction, or we've got to a point where someone wanted to buy something and they said they were going to bid strong or even bid to win, but couldn't afford it. So at times we would work with them, on creatively putting together a finance plan. People have also asked us, if I win this and I'm paying $30,000 for it, can I send you consignments for the next auction to pay for that card? And we'll work with them on that side. We'll get creative. It's not a black and white, type thing where it's like our way or the highway. We'll work with you in making sure that if you want to get something and it could be a real high-end piece, we'll make time for you to get it.
The creative trade idea you just said is pretty cool idea. But
Yeah.
Another cool thing is I don't think you guys take credit cards, am I right?
We don't. We
right.
don't take credit cards.
And so what I think is good about that is, whether intentional or unintentional, you're not letting people buy things with debt. You're not... and I think that's prudent, and I think that's good for the hobby, because at the end of the day, we want everybody to do it responsibly and have a great time and get all the stuff you want. But I think to go
yeah,
in.
Say a credit card has a max of 50 grand.
Right.
And we take a credit card. And gentleman buys something, spends that 50 grand. What he really needs is 40 grand to pay off something.
Right.
So it's going to hurt our industry when he takes that stuff and he dumps it just to pay off his debt, and all that stuff, comes tumbling down because it's not in the right auction, or it's on eBay for a day auction or a 3-day auction, and it just fizzles, and someone gets the benefit, of buying it cheap. So I think that, like you said, it's doing our due diligence to look forward, and protect our business. And we don't want to sell stuff to someone who's going to be putting themselves in debt. It's definitely something that we're not pro doing.
Yeah.
But I think
it's bad for the hobby. Yeah.
Yeah, I think overall, as far as putting, having our auction aligned date-wise with another auction, at times we will call certain auction houses and say, hey, what's your schedule? Let's work together so we don't collide. And there have been auction houses that have worked with us, and then there are ones that just want to, that's their date. Well, nothing against them. It's just our dates are our dates. And that's why I think, and I think that there's enough for everyone, where you might have some real pushy, aggressive people in the industry that are trying to get every consignment, known to man. And, we're not like that. And guess what? It always works out.
That's cool. So let's talk about the hobby in general for a second, because you and I both know that prices have been rising pretty steadily, especially for vintage cards, which is y'all's specialty and my love. I'm a big vintage card guy, PSA slab kind of stuff, and Hall of Fame autographs. So y'all are like my perfect auction house, right? Do you see, maybe this is a two-part question too, do you see the number of people registering to bid growing? Like in terms of health of our hobby, more and more people getting involved. Do you see the number of people registering to bid growing? And like how many people are registered on your website to have the ability to bid, give or take, like a ballpark?
We've got a ton of people, thousands of people that bid in our auction. I think that in a down market, when I say down market, like the stock market,
right,
we're still thriving. In an up market, we're still thriving. I think that the hobby is extremely healthy. I think that not from opinion, but this is based on facts. PSA, I have about 10 orders in there right now that are a bit behind. You can look at that twofold. You can either get mad and say, man, where's my stuff?
Right.
Or you can say, you know what, I get it. I understand it, because they are so backed up. That shows that it's a thriving hobby. That shows that, okay, so they're constantly hiring more people, but you can't just hire anyone off the street to create a card or to authenticate an autograph or to process something. And they have so many different processes before it gets to shipping, to get back to you. So my point is that if they're backed up so much, with cards and memorabilia, and they're, behind the 8 ball and trying to get stuff out, this hobby is continuously thriving. We're getting new bidders coming in every single auction. People that have never bid in auctions that decided they wanted to diversify their funds, and they wanted to, with the market in the downward spiral at certain points, and, obviously now it's recovered for the time being. But, regardless if you're a fan of Trump or not, you still want to protect yourself. So you might take out, 35%, diversify into the assets of sports cards and memorabilia. Again, a thriving business, where you have top 1 cards, a one-of-a-kind card or one of 2 greater than a 9. You kind of know that if you're buying high-end Hall of Fame rookie cards or high-end stars, there's going to be someone else that's going to want to pay more than that and raise the bar. So the bar is always being raised. and there's always new money coming in. You know, at one point we were kind of thinking, hey, it's getting a little slow, and that was about a month period when the stock markets really was taking a hit. You know, and I think people were just kind of, you know, easing through and weathering the storm. But I still wholeheartedly think and know that our industry is going nowhere. I mean, it's just, you know, it's just a great, you have people in their 70s and 80s that collected that are now deciding to sell, and you have younger people, you know, like I'm 47, and, you know, people in their 40s that, you know, can't wait to get a hold of that type of stuff, and then it's redistributed through the market. So,
and I'm 45, so I'm in the similar, you know, generation as you in terms of collecting. We grew up in the 80s and, you know, the junk wax era and all that. But for me, I wasn't even around in the 50s and 60s, and I love those cards and want them for my collection. And so I think that will always happen. You'll have new generations that come along and they'll appreciate a 1939 play ball Ted Williams just as much as I do. Neither one of us were alive, but you go, holy crap, that's a great baseball card. And so I agree. And I see more and more younger people getting involved in the hobby. Not as much as maybe we might want to see, and that, you know, that's some people would totally disagree with that the hobby's dying and all that. I don't. I'm in the camp with you because I'm seeing what I'm having to pay for stuff. And so that simply is a result of either higher demand from existing collectors or new collectors coming in. The idea of investing in vintage sports cards as, I'll call it, an alternative investment. I'm a financial planner for a living, and so I've never had anyone come to me and say, hey Mike, I want to diversify my portfolio by buying some vintage baseball cards. What do you think? I have had people come to me and say, I want to buy gold, or I want to buy pot stocks, or all sorts of crazy stuff, but not baseball cards. And so I do think that is, maybe they're just too embarrassed to tell their financial advisor that they're doing it, but there's definitely increasing in prices, increasing in demand, and that can only be good for the health and sustainability of our hobby long term. And I'm excited to see that. So another question, I don't want to keep you too much longer because I know you're a busy guy, and I so much appreciate you being here, but I want to talk about the grading companies for a second, only from the standpoint of, you mentioned yourself you have 10 orders kind of at them or at PSA or whatever. So a couple of questions. Do you guys have kind of a preferred authenticator that you use in terms of, or grading company? Or do you guys make deals with them? Hey, we're Memory Lane. We want to do an exclusive deal with XYZ. If you do strike those deals, how does all that work? Or do you, and here's another question to that, I'm sorry I keep asking a bunch of questions to you, but they're all kind of related because I don't want to get the other one not answered, probably because I forget. So this PSA thing, how do you do that? When someone brings you an item, if I brought you a raw 33 Gaudy Ruth, would you guys say, all right, Mr. Seller, you need to go send that to PSA, or we'll send it for you and we'll charge you the fee, we'll eat the fee? How does that work?
Well, as far as the first part in like dealing with one grader or one authenticator, our stuff is dropped off at Fort Knox, aka PSA.
Okay.
And we fill out the submission form, and that thing gets processed. It goes through so many. So this is when people think, why, I sent it in 3 weeks ago, why is my piece not back yet? You know, when they realize what PSA is all about, and they realize that you send it in, it gets opened up in front of cameras, it gets processed, it gets prepared to get processed, it gets processed, it gets put in the queue, and then it gets graded, it gets regraded, it gets regraded, it gets verified, then it goes to quality control. So there are so many processes with this public company, Collectors Universe, that PSA is under. You just send it in and you drop it off. We're 4 to 6 minutes from PSA, Tustin, California, so we're right around the corner from them. So that's exciting to the seller that if they want to send us the stuff, we can get them a little bit of a discounted rate, handle it A to Z, and they don't even have to lay out the money for the authentication or the grading. We lay out the money, and then once it goes through our auction, then we deduct that from the proceeds at the end of the auction, and then give them the rest.
Gotcha.
And as far as turnaround time, we work with them and explaining to them that it's for our auction, and they work with us. And, we do give them a lot of business, and, we're a dealer, so we get dealer pricing, and it's, they pride themselves in making sure that everybody is getting the same dealer pricing because we're giving them, an enormous amount of stuff day in and day out. I mean, we're there at PSA 5 days a week, and they provide, an A-plus service. You might not get it back on time, but they're providing a value, and they're the Rolls Royce to the industry. SGC is good. It's just PSA. People love that brand, love the red, white, blue. They love it for grading of cards, for autographs, and it's just such a popular, it's a real popular venue that, people have really been happy with, and it's, so it's definitely, we definitely don't pick, who we want to grade the cards. They're graded by multiple people that we have no clue, at the time who's grading the card, as it goes through those processes.
What about getting an item that comes in an old holder? Will you sometimes take it over and get it upgraded, spend the $8 to reholder it in the lighthouse holder or something?
Yeah, we'll get a lot of things reholdered just based on the presentation of the card and the new security with the hologram, and it's attractive. It's more attractive, and unfortunately, it's not just the $8 to reholder it. It also, as of recent, it depends on the value of the card, and then they assess the value to reholder the card. But you definitely want it to look presentable, and if a holder's scratched, we want it redone.
Right.
So that's important to us. It's all based on presentation and getting the right exposure for the right image.
So I'm a PSA guy, just so you know. So you have done nothing but make me smile in talking about PSA, and I'm a shareholder, so that's even better. The fact that you guys send so much stuff to them, thank you very much. You're making my stock go up. But what's cool is, and look, you've seen so many things. I have a couple thousand PSA slabs, and people that say the lighthouse holder doesn't just make a card look better, they think it looks the same, they don't know what they're talking about. The lighthouse holder looks so much better than the previous generation of holders. I don't even, it's hard to explain to somebody. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. They're a class in themselves that they also believe in image, and they also believe in, how you're looking at the product, whether it's the way the letter of authenticity is laid out. And, they have great autograph authenticators over there. And, with their reputation and their name signed off on that letter, you're getting a real cool document showing, and you feel so good that that item's authenticated by them. And again, like I said before, they're the Rolls Royce of the industry, and they've come a long way, and they've been a huge help in the value of stuff. And they've I'll tell you, they've changed people's lives. Yeah. Because it's just gone from collecting baseball cards as a kid to a not million, but billion-dollar hobby.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Our hobby's got to be, cumulative. Our hobby's got to be worth at least north of $5 billion if you were to add everything up, and the amount of business that, occurs during a calendar year.
That's unreal. I got some fun questions for you now.
Sure.
So tell me about Pawn Stars. Tell me how that started. And nobody knows what I'm talking about probably, but I'll tell them that you're the kind of the new most recent guy that authenticates items for Rick at the pawn shop, right?
Actually, I appraise.
Or appraise, I'm sorry. Fair enough.
Authenticate. Yeah, he's been doing that for years, and I've been doing it for about a little over 3 years.
Okay.
And it's been awesome. I mean, I was approached by them a long time ago on eBay when I was selling stuff, and they said, hey, would you like to bring that item on the show? And so I'm also in the industry. I moved out here to work for Warner Brothers in 1994, you know, when I was much younger. And being in the film industry, you know, working from like with De Niro to just a ton of people, and then working in a little bit of reality TV, realized with all the creative editing and that you could take my question and have someone answer it completely different than that answer pertaining to a different question. You know, that's the world of creative editing. So I said to them, you know, if you treat me right, I'll come on the show, I'll do an episode, and then if you like it and I like it, we can keep doing them. And did about 5 where I came onto the show selling. And it was great. They treated me, you know, with like the utmost respect. So I said, you know, I'd be glad to do a 6th one. And then they called me back and they said to hold off. And I was kind of wondering why they were saying to hold off. And then they called me the next day and said, hey, would you like to interview to become the sports expert for the show? And I said, yeah. You know, they asked me twice on one.
Sure.
And then we Skyped for about an hour, and one of the producers edited together a 3.5-minute presentation, and we ended up, they called me the next day, and they said, if you want the gig, you got it. And it's been incredible ever since. I mean, it's a lot of fun, you know, going out to Vegas and getting on the show and shooting the episodes and working with Corey and Chumley and Rick. And Rick is a wealth of information. The guy knows everything. I mean, I've never met a more passionate guy, you know, based on like his knowledge of guns and first edition books and cannons and even sports stuff. I mean, you know, non-sports and military stuff. I mean, the guy is just a genius when it comes to that. And people think, well, he's looking it up. I'll tell you, if you sat with him, a million hours wouldn't be enough where he wouldn't be anywhere near the Google box. He would you know, carry you for decades in talking about, you know, all different types of items that's gone through his hands. And, you know, so it's been an incredible run. You know, Rick's been really nice in setting me up with guys to buy stuff that, you know, they were looking for certain things. So he's been, you know, real generous that way. And they're just a cool family to work with. And the crew's a great, you know, just amazing to work with. But it's been a great run. So that's pretty much how, you know, how it all came about.
Well, a question for you then, and that's
sure.
Totally awesome. You guys should go on History Channel and check out some back episodes and find Dan on there. And I watched the one recently where you had the 51 Bowman Mantle that was autographed. It was, you know, beat to hell, but it was pretty cool nonetheless. And y'all can go find out if they made a deal or not for that. But go find that episode. I think it was season. Oh goodness, this year. Yeah, it was this year.
It'll be on this new season. I'm on episodes 1, 2, and 6.
Nice.
So far, and I've got about 5 more episodes. And one cool episode to pull up is the Game Used Babe Ruth bat. You'll see the individual who tried to sell Babe Ruth's called shot bat. Also, if you want to search these, just go to YouTube and put in Pawn Stars Babe Ruth Game Used bat, or you put in Pawn Stars 49er rings, or Pawn Stars Willy Wonka, or even Pawn Stars and Muhammad Ali letter. And that's about 4 episodes right off the bat that you can check out.
That's awesome. So we are on a medium right now. We're recording this for YouTube, and you know, that's a medium that's growing in terms of the hobby. More and more people are getting involved in YouTube and watching videos of other collectors. And why do you think it is that there's no reality shows or any kind of show about our hobby really on television today. I've seen some iterations in the past that have come and gone. But why do you think that hasn't ever gotten figured out where somebody did it right? What do you think?
Never say never. I think that there's room for that. I think that possibly might be around the corner. I think that it's exciting, and I think that with social media and everything, I think the world can definitely accept the fact that we need something like that.
I mean, I would be. I love it, and there's some podcasters, and there's some, Tom Zappola does a show weekly, and with Rico Petrocelli, great show called the Great American Sports Card Show. I think, is that right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember that off the top of my head. I'm a reasonably frequent viewer of that, but it's online. It's not on. I can't pull it up on my, television and watch it in terms of just watching it whenever I want. And I think there's room for a show like that. I think that would be really fun. And
absolutely.
So, using your connections, maybe you see. I heard your cryptic message you were given there, but I don't want to. I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to spoil anything. But so, will you guys be set up at the National this year in Chicago?
Absolutely, every national for the next 175 years.
Okay.
Yeah, we will be there. We're always in the front, and would love for people to come down and check it out and check out our display. We usually have some extremely high-end six, 7-figure type stuff that is on display, and nothing to mention just yet, but always having a huge display of some really cool eye candy to check out. Bring your kids, and we love kind of educating the kids. And I started this as a business when I was a little kid. My grandfather owned a candy store in the Bronx, and I grew up in New York. He'd bring us boxes of baseball cards, and my brother chewed the gum, and I put the cards together and learned at 12 years old that you can make money for this. Who needs school? Just kidding. You definitely need an education. But I was just learning the whole buy-sell trade of the card industry, and it's fun to now see kids and their fathers coming in, the father and son, just coming in to check out things. And I think if, people spend more time with these kids at a show and introduce them to stuff that, they are the future, and we want this to continue to grow, and we want, people to continue to enter our hobby and keep it as strong as it is right now. So,
what days will you be at the National yourself?
We get in there Tuesday and we stay there till Sunday.
So you'll be there personally Tuesday through Sunday?
I'll be there personally every single day from setup to close.
Well, I would love to shake your hand when I come to the National this year.
Absolutely. Come by and visit us. Absolutely.
What? So do you collect yourself? Like, are you a collector as well as a owner?
Yeah. I definitely do collect. I've got some, I've always dealt with so much sports stuff that I've kind of just, decided to veer a little bit off that and collect a bunch of Americana, Marilyn Monroe signed photos and contracts, Amelia Earhart signed stuff, even Mafia-related stuff. I've had letters from John Gotti. I've had letters from Joey Dodo, which is Joey Adonis. Different members get canceled checks signed by Carlo Gambino, the Gambino crime family, checks signed by Joe Bonanno and Roy DeMeo. Neat stuff like that. I collect Muhammad Ali stuff, but it has to be unique, unusual type stuff, like his drawings that he did years ago, stuff like that. And just sentimental stuff. I've been, given a lot of things either, at shows or, that celebrities have signed, that are on my mantle in my office. I was an orderly on the show ER many moons ago on the second season, and I became friendly with the prop guy. He loved Shaquille O'Neal at the time, so I got him an autographed 8x10, and the next thing you know, he let me keep my ID from this show. So I got some props on there, and
that's cool.
Just a neat collection of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, collectors are collectors, right? It's sports or be it
absolutely
whatever, and it's hard to shake that bug, man. It is definitely an addiction, and one I, for one, am proud to be a part of. And man, thanks for what you do for our hobby. Thanks for what you guys bring to the table for us collectors.
Absolutely.
And you know, I've probably taken up so much of your time, but I want to tell everybody, I'll put a link down below to Memory Lane Auctions, to their homepage. You can check out their auction that's going on through April 6th. Lots of amazing stuff in there, so make sure you check that out. And Dan, you may have to go start watching some YouTube videos now, man. What are you going to do?
Absolutely. You got it. No, I appreciate you having me on. And, you know, it's just such a great industry to be a part of. And it's so much fun, and I'll tell you, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being the first guest on my new series, and I hope everybody likes it. So, guys out there, if you like it, leave that like button, hit that like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. And Dan, maybe we'll do this again sometime. I don't know. Maybe I'll talk to you at the National. We'll do some fun stuff.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. Anytime.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you very much. And everybody out there, we'll talk to you soon, and keep collecting.